seconds late, but that's all right.
I know some of us say 3, 2, 1. Other people just say ready and then just press go.
Yeah, ready.
Mine makes a noise.
Stay. Welcome to episode 39 of the Lionz Den. Again, my name's Eddy.
I'm Alex.
I'm Brad.
This is Julietta.
Hi, Julietta. That's why we were all laughing, by the way, because she was giving us the eye on the intro.
So this is my beautiful little girl. So sweet and gentle. She's going to sit in probably until she gets bored. Are you pretty? So if you want to check her out, check out the YouTube. So today we were going to talk about a couple things. One, my mom said you better chill with your potty mouth. You.
Mine?
Yeah, why are you looking at Brad? You.
Well, I was hoping you were going to be turning your attention to him.
No, it's you.
Wow.
She said, he's a nice boy. Why is he dropping so many F-bombs?
I don't, a lady named Carol asked me the same thing a long time ago.
Yeah, so she said, stop with your potty mouth.
I'll do my best. Yeah, I'll do my best.
So we weren't on last week. We were watching the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. I know you said you did.
It did.
Did you end up watching?
Third and fourth quarter.
Okay. So I was in my great contemplation of how fair God is. I was watching Kansas City Chiefs go for third Super Bowl and second, while our beloved Chicago Bears suck perennial year after year after year after year after year, and thinking how thinking how fair God is, and there's no fairness in that. But coincidentally, as I was thinking of the fair God and how much he hates the Chicago Bears, Jesus commercial came up. So I think he was speaking to me. I don't know if people tuned in, caught it or not. It's, I don't know what you would call it, a campaign. He gets us. Mm-hmm. I actually did a little, and we'll talk about it more, but I did a little research about him because I happened to catch, there was one or two that came out actually before the Super Bowl. But if anybody knows anything about the Super Bowl, most watched thing on television all year, huge, big money to get a spot. So the people that put that through was big money. Mm-hmm.
Times two, right?
Yes, yeah.
Two
I do. I did hear there was two. I only remember the one, but
I saw two.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and for everybody, I'm going to play it on YouTube. I don't know if they're going to allow it, but we'll give it a shot. Podcast should be good.
We're going to find out.
A rebel took to the streets. He recruited others to join him. They roamed the hood and challenged authority. Community leaders feared them. Religious leaders abhorred them. We have to get them off the streets, they said. But they weren't part of a gang spreading hate and terror. They were spreading love.
So that was one of them. The title on that one's The Rebel. There's quite a few. There's Refugee. Actually, there's tons of them. I want to say there's like 12 or 13 of them. Some talk, some are just
music.
Some are just music with some heavy-duty pictures. It was pretty intense. It gave me chills when I heard it because, one, I was kind of surprised to see it during the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. I loved the fact that, and we're going to find out very shortly, I knew unequivocally it was going to tick people off because they're trying to watch the Super Bowl and they got to hear about Jesus.
God forbid. No pun intended.
It was extremely well done. There's nothing to really be offended about, and no. I knew that people would still be offended. And anyways, I was really curious who was involved with it, because when I first kind of heard about it, when I was reading the article about it, I figured for sure, strong religious right, what have you, and it's not. So what was your mother's reaction, Brad?
I don't want to swear now. I don't want to offend your mother.
So just don't F-bomb.
My mom was like, the heck with this. I'm not shopping at Hobby Lobby again. They got to be behind this. And my mom, who is very crafty and spends a lot of her dollars at crafts places, decided after one little 10-second Super Bowl commercial about Jesus, she was out of the Hobby Lobby game, which is kind of funny.
So, not to put your mom on blast.
Yeah,
I was doing it to everybody. You didn't even give me a heads up that I was getting on blast from your ma. So.
Yes,
Yeah, that would have been a nice.
She said, "Nice boy."
20 minutes of setup before we do this.
Stop dropping the F-bombs.
That's what makes this so great. There's no prepreparation.
No,
just press record.
No. Yeah. Hey, let's go, Alex. Hit go on the camera. Oh, hey, by the way, my mom's calling you to the mat.
You're right.
So when you said that, as I was watching it, like that was the first thing that crossed my mind is this going to tick people off?
Yeah.
And I love it. So I absolutely love it. I love every aspect of it. I love that it ticked people off. I love that it was exquisitely done. I love the message. Literally gave me chills. Just hearing it now gives me chills every time I hear it because it's such a powerful message. And as I was saying, I kind of tracked the funding on it, and it's really all over the place. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really seem to be any major one source. Seems to be like some big dollar stuff. My experience is usually if you're hearing a religion or something like that kind of peddled, they want that attachment to it. Mm-hmm. What is it? Is it Church of Latter-day Saints? Is that the one that usually has the commercials?
Oh, yeah.
They're usually also really good. Bowl, like there'll be elder lady sitting on the bus and, hey, would you like, I think it's Church of Latter-day Saints. So again, those are very well done, fantastic, always great messaging. Juliet over it.
Yeah, stage left.
Very good messaging. Always, again, very tasteful, very well done. You don't really feel like they're trying to push anything down on you, but they definitely attach at the end of it, Church of Latter-day Saints. Mm-hmm. These had nothing, so it wasn't, Roman Catholics of America or evangelists of wherever. It was just a straight up Jesus commercial with and if you so again, the website is he knows us. He gets us. He gets us. So if you kind of go to the website, they have Be Childlike, Love Your Enemies, That Day, Refugee, which I listened to was really good, Dinner Party, Family Matters, Influencer. If you kind of scroll through it, so their hashtags are love, hope, struggle, justice, activist, forgiveness, about us. I really can't find any connection yet to anybody. And reading about it just sounds like it's a lot of people with some good money.
And even the one that I saw one, like the first one I saw kind of caught me off guard. I was like, oh, shit, all right. And then the second one, it was like more of the picture one. It was like black and white. There were a lot of people it was kind of like what's going on in society now, turmoil, people fighting or whatever. And it was kind of like, hey,
I know the one you're talking about.
I think that's the Love Thy Enemy because it's all music. And then I think at the end of it, it just says
it's a lot of racial difference.
Yeah, it just says Jesus. Then he gets us at the end of it.
Right. And it was kind of like, because we've talked if Jesus were to come back, he would probably hang out with the angry mob, So I thought it was, I did think it was kind of tastefully done, despite what my mom said. But it's just more entertaining.
So again, to me, it was just absolutely fantastic. Again, the messaging was on point. I love that the title of it was Rebel. I don't think we think about it enough. And if you kind of go back and listen to it, everything it's kind of saying is true. And when you really think about where we're at with faith and religion, what side you're on.
Right.
It's a little bit of a gut check. So again, as I was watching it, I was like, oh, people are going to be so ticked off by this. So I knew it was going to tick off the religious right. And when I say religious right, I'm talking about you're going to hell because you're gay, you're going to hell because you're having sex without being married, blah, 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 all that kind of the extreme type stuff. I knew it was going to tick off the liberals that the last thing in the world they want to hear about is Jesus during the Super Bowl.
Even though it was like 10 seconds. It just, like, you didn't even have to hear it. It just said Jesus on the screen. You could have closed your eyes.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of know from this podcast, people don't get me wrong, obviously, you know, Christianity is still the most popular religion on earth. So there's tons of people that are dialed into Jesus. That being said, socially, or especially like media-wise, it's kind of the naughty word. Mm-hmm. You're really not supposed to say anything about Jesus. Right. Gets people riled up.
Yeah.
A little bit.
You show your breastises on TV, on movies, and you can't say Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes people feel some kind of way, you know, one way or the other.
Well, why do you think that is? What do you think it is? Do you think it's just because it's like you're at the Super Bowl and that's typically like a Super Bowl party, so it's an opportunity to throw a shot out there? Like, why do you think it is that people go out of it? Because I feel like when you see something like that come across the screen, like, for instance, what you had happen at your house, it's not like somebody just saw it and they rolled their eyes. Like, there's always somebody that's going to be like, why do you got to do that? It's the Super Bowl. Why do you got to put it up there? Like, somebody goes out of their way to complain about it. Why do you think that is?
So again, what I absolutely love about it is it's during the Super Bowl.
Right. I agree.
You know, the reality is people are in a lot of times degenerative behavior. Mm-hmm. So we know, we've actually talked about it in a pretty recent podcast, that the last thing you want is any kind of conscience getting slapped right across your face.
That's fair.
So, you know, you're out having a good time, or you're somewhere having a good time, and
boom.
Right. You got to hear about Jesus.
Somebody slowly puts their beer down.
Yeah.
And, you know, and again, in my opinion, in a really, really powerful way, you know, talking about him being a rebel, talking about how, you know, the people he went against, and it says religious leaders. So, you know, a lot of people like to forget that, you know, and forgive my Jewish names if I'm saying it wrong, but Caiaphas is, I mean, person that was really pushing for Jesus's death was the Jewish leader.
Right.
You know, that was the main guy. And the people that were pushing for his death were many of the religious leaders. Not that there weren't some that were disputing it or going against it. You know, and it's important, you know, I don't know if do you guys remember Passion of the Christ? Mm-hmm. I know I told both you guys to watch it.
Yeah.
But you remember kind of when it came out?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that was another thing. It just, people were so mad about it.
It kind of ruined Mel Gibson's career to some degree.
Yes and no. So Mel Gibson took a huge risk. That was kind of all his dollars. It did incredibly well. So he made big money off it. He did get a lot of anti-Semitism stuff from it. Anyone who hasn't seen it, it's absolutely incredible. It's called Passion of the Christ. But what a lot of people don't know, so that movie was taken, one, from the Gospels, and it was also, it's a book called, I think, the Dolores Passion of Christ. Dolores Passion of Christ. It's written by a sister who had visions. And a lot of what it's showing in that was in her visions. So it's not like Mel Gibson just made this shit up and put it up there. He's taking either from the Gospels or he was taking it from her point of view. Well, you know, Jewish community was like, hey, why are you guys always making us the bad guys on this? You know, you made Caiaphas this evil guy. They're punching him in the face, all this stuff. You know, and again, that stuff is coming from that book and then also New Testament. So reality is, you like it or not, that's who played the role. Mm-hmm. You know, they could have been Jewish, they could have been, I'm Italian. I mean, there was Romans there too, but they could have been, you know, Russian, black, whatever. It just, that's what it was. So Now, I will say he had some anti-Semitic remarks some years later, and that's kind of what you're talking about.
Got it.
Yeah. Sizzle chest, and I won't use the words he used, but he kind of was a little tipsy one night and just kind of let some stuff fly and was definitely very anti-Semitic.
That's why I never want to be like that level of a superstar ever. You just can't have a slip. You know, well, you say it. Well, and the problem is I guess it's not that he had a slip. It's probably he said what he wanted to say and just figured, screw it, I'm drunk, and was unfiltered. I guess you don't know unless you're there in the context.
Yeah, but I mean, so if you've ever watched the movie, it's brutal.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's absolutely brutal. I mean, you feel like you got out of a 15-round fight by the time you get done watching it.
And you're reading subtitles the whole time.
Reading subtitles the whole time. It's absolutely brutal. You know, what that speaks to me is obviously he was the director. I mean, that was his viewpoint. It was, you know, again, he's depicting things he has read, but he obviously wanted to make you feel what Jesus went through, you know, to the highest order. So you feel every drop of blood that's spilled, every lashing, every fall, all that stuff. And I really feel like he's wanting to do that so you remember how much he loved you and what he was willing to do for you. Mm-hmm. So anytime somebody's kind of coming through from that side, usually has some pain, you know, has usually been through some shit. So, I mean, I think the reality for Mel Gibson, I think he's a very religious man and he's faulted like we all are. You know, I think that kind of was his gift out there to, you know, kind of mirror how he feels and probably the guilt he feels, and, you know, the humanity of him and the reality of him came out later on and didn't look good. I mean, none of us are perfect. Doesn't change the product he put out, doesn't change the message that was there. You know, doesn't change any of the power behind it. You know, same thing with this, to Brad Mom's point. She's going to love getting mentioned over and over again. My mom does, Alex.
I haven't said the F word one time.
Just letting you know, she's tuned in every weekend.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it.
You know, to your mom's point, and like I said, ironically, it was one of the first things I looked up because I was like, who's behind this?
Well, the funny thing is she knew right away. It wasn't like she like stopped, picked up her phone and was like, so I don't know if she obviously must have read. She's very intelligent, in case she is listening. But I don't think she just off the cuff knew who was directly behind it. So she must have seen some sort of snippet on it or something, or maybe she just guessed right. I don't know. You know.
Well, I'm not sure that they had anything to do with it.
Whoever the owner of Hobby
was
Lobby,
he one of the investors in this? Gotcha.
Head, like,
I thought you were.
Because I don't think there's any head to it. I mean, from what I read, it's a bunch of different.
There's a bunch of people, but I saw
big money people that put money into it.
Yes, but one of the money people is also affiliated with.
Got it. But yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is I think it was funny that I had to know because it really shouldn't have mattered.
No.
Like I said, it wasn't peddling anything. It's not trying to convert you. It's not trying to evangelize you. Just putting a beautiful message out there in a very beautiful way. There was nothing offensive about it. There was nothing really to get mad about it.
Sally, nothing.
Right. Nothing preachy about it. At least I didn't feel. Right. So I thought it was kind of weird that even for me, I was like, okay, who's behind this thing?
Right.
You know,
I don't think that's weird. That's how we're conditioned now. Like everything has to have a hook to it. And I think that's what's throwing so many people off about this is you have to go and look. Like, I think what was so respectable about their commercial was you have to go and look for them to figure out what that was all about. So there's nothing tying to a certain direction they're trying to push you. It was almost just like hey, this is the reality. And you look at it from, I think how all of us look at it, business owners, you know, we kind of operate in some pretty big businesses. What's the return on an investment? Right. So I think that's where your head went to of, okay, well, who's behind it?
Right.
Somebody's got to be making.
What's the angle? Yeah.
You played this twice in the Super Bowl. I know how much that costs. Where are you getting this money?
No, you're 100%
And it looks like it's them just from what we've seen thus far, it looks like they're just putting something out there to try to get the message out.
I've gone through the website. Yeah. There's no brought to you by Hobby Lobby at the end of it.
So what's so terrible about it?
There's absolutely nothing. I just think it's amusing that we need that. Right. Like, we need to bastardize it. We need to tear it down. We can't let it just, breathe its own air and be what it was. There's got to be some, deceitful, devious motive behind it.
Well, and not to play devil's advocate, I'm not the biggest sports ball person, but how many times is there the interview after the game, to MVP or whatever? I got to thank God, for all the, millions of people who watch this, and nobody bats an eye. And, I got to thank God for this, Nobody cares. But one little Super Bowl ad, people are like, what the shit?
Well, because they're supposed to be entertaining. People wait. Maggie, the only reason why she tunes into the Super Bowl is for the freaking commercials.
The Bears aren't going to be in it, so the commercials better be good.
Right.
That's why I'm asking.
So, and then you get hit with that. And again, it's very, very powerful. It's very eloquent. It's tasteful. Extremely tasteful. It's beautiful. The pictures in it are absolutely incredible. There's a lot of juice to it. It's got some muscle behind it.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm just trying to get shit-faced and watch the Super Bowl.
Pass me a chicken wing.
Yeah, and eat chicken wings. What's up with Jesus stuff? I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah. So thank you to all these rich people that put this out. You made my day, continue to make my day. I love it. I love everything about it. I've watched probably 8 or 9 of them. They're all absolutely fantastic. And again, the point of bringing it up is how ticked off people get. Even now, I take that because Hobby Lobby, Chick-fil-A, I think were with the gay thing, weren't they?
Yeah, I don't know, but I know like Chick-fil-A for sure has offended, I think, the gays. A lot of
and I can't really remember what their deal was, but I know even with them, they're not open on Sunday. For religious purposes. Yep. And that ticks people off. So I have a building right next to one. So, people get fired up about they can't get their Chick-fil-A on Sunday. And, these religious bastards, I want my chicken sandwich, and they're not open. These
can't go get that
holy rollers.
Popeyes, gotta have some Chick-fil-A.
So I find that amusing, if that's what they believe and that's what they want to do. It's their freaking company. They have every right to do it. If you don't like it, don't buy from there. Yeah. And again, I don't want to speak out of turn because I definitely remember some stuff with the gay community and both those companies. I don't really remember what it was. But now, if you're shunning people away, now you're exactly who the commercial was talking about. Right. You're against Jesus. Right. But if you're practicing your beliefs, there's nothing wrong with that. So, I know we've talked about gay marriage. Everybody has a right to get married. It's none of my business. God bless you. You two love each other. Live happily ever after. That being said, I'm a Roman Catholic, we don't do that in our church. I feel like they have every right not to do that church. That's just against their belief system. Now, you can't come in here is a whole other story.
Right.
You're not welcome here is a whole other story.
Yes.
You're living a life of sin is a whole other story. You're passing judgment on them is a whole other story. Yep. And there's a big difference between the two. Again, I respect that that's what Roman Catholic faith has been. It's always been that way. And honestly, the Pope is very, very open with a lot of it. So, it obviously has chilled out a lot, but I get that's where they're at, but, as long as you're still open arms with attending, talking about it, whatever, I think that's fantastic. So again, what makes people so upset about it? Why does it make them so mad? And like I said, it's both sides. I know people that watched it that were, very religious and were offended because it wasn't provocative enough. You weren't telling people that they were going to hell for this behavior. And, I know liberal people that were like, I'm watching the Super Bowl. I want to hear about Jesus. I ain't got time for that shit.
Right. But I wonder how many people out there maybe are at a point in their lives where they're thinking about religion or having questions with religion and see a commercial like that and just kind of make note of it and then go back a day later or whatever, kind of like what you did, and go down the rabbit hole of searching their videos and, what a great way to like kind of subtly give somebody like that opening of the door, without being overbearing or, demeaning to them. So you're right. I mean, it's beyond tasteful, like the way they did it.
No, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Again, we're talking about it because I hope you go on it. Mm-hmm. I hope you tell everybody and their mother about it because it's, again, very thoughtful, very well done. I feel like it's 100% on point. I feel like message is crystal clear and 100% on point. I feel like it's a great ambassador to who and what Jesus is. And a lot of people aren't doing a good job of it. So, what's out there for them isn't being represented in that way. And again, if it is, whoever is put, Hobby Lobby, whoever tells me that, either they have some super diabolical angle that we'll find out years later, that we're like being hypnotized or something, because somebody approved it. Mm-hmm. And again, it's going after that very thing. So I don't want to put Hobby Lobby in because I really can't remember what their issue was. But if it was them, it's kind of ironic that it's exactly what it may be talking about.
Well, I don't think it was Hobby Lobby per se. It was one of the Hobby Lobby
investors
or one of the people tied to this commercial also have ties to Hobby Lobby, but I'm not sure. I don't want to speak on
it. So maybe Hobby Lobby doesn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah. Right. Well, my point is, if it's one of their investors and he saw this, he's ticking people off in, the very place he's at, possibly. And again, I love it. Mm-hmm. So the whole point of it is rebel. The whole point of Lionz Den is rebellion.
Ticking people off.
Sorry, Mom, piss off as many people as you possibly can. Please.
Better be careful.
So I didn't use the F-bomb.
I know you didn't. That's why I said be careful.
I think shit and that word's okay.
Whoa.
The P word might be pushing it. But tick off as many people as you possibly can. I mean, that is the message. That has always been the message. I mean, that was Jesus' day-to-day thing, was ruffling as many feathers as he possibly can. It's exactly why he was killed. It's exactly why they wanted him dead. They were worried about rebellion on both sides. Both, Jewish and Romans were both worried about, hey, this guy's going to stir up a lot of shit. Mm-hmm. He was trying to strip power. He was trying to bring truth back into who his father was, what God is. It was all about rebellion. And again, somewhere, and I think unfortunately a lot of times it comes with power, somewhere that message got lost, where, far too many people of faith have become the very thing that he was fighting against.
Agreed.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you hit it spot on, and I think that's the exact point of the commercials. I think it was put out there to stir the pot. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it was there to get people's interest, to kind of just put it out there and see exactly what happens with it. I mean, trying to get the positive, the negative reactions, and I think it's one of those, just put it out there and see kind of where it goes. Mm-hmm. That's back when I was back at the house, and I had the second half on, and I saw the second commercial you're talking about.
Right.
I think it was Love Thy Enemy, and they're just playing music behind it, and during playing the music, it's showing like police officers and civilians, and you could tell it's like all black and white, and cities are distraught, and it's got like some pretty heavy music behind it, and then it just fades in like Jesus, and he gets us, and then he gets us / Love Thy Enemy, and I was just like, wow. I think I even said out loud, I'm pretty sure I just saw a Jesus commercial during the Super
That was I saw the first one and it was the same thing. Kind of caught me off guard, and then I saw that and I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. But like I said, I wonder, I haven't heard. I don't really walk in a circle where there's not a water. I work by myself for the most part, so it's not like there's a water cooler of like, hey, did you see the Jesus commercial? That was weird. So I don't know. Maybe
that's not like a thing you guys do on the job site.
No, it's really not. So maybe. Let us know if you comment on this video. If the day that let us know what kind of conversations you either had with your family or with
what kind of reactions.
What kind of reactions that were you got on this, or it'd be interesting to hear that.
So are we allowed to? Because I think it's pretty cool, and this is on the fly. None of this is pre-screened here. So are we allowed to like drop a link to theirs on on ours?
Yeah, I think definitely. I'm just not sure because I'm going to try to play one of the other ones that was even more amusing to me.
Yeah, so we're going to check to see, but if we can, we're going to drop the link at the bottom of this one. So check in the description, check out the link on our YouTube. So you can.
I'm just not sure us playing the commercials if they're going to cut them or not.
I mean, it's free advertising.
There was a mother and a father who had a son. They lived in a small village and didn't have much money, but they were happy. One day, they heard the head of their country was sending soldiers to their town because he thought they were part of an insurrection. The young family decided to flee. They grabbed only what they could carry and ran. They hiked for days, wondering if soldiers might still be following them. They were scared, hungry, and exhausted. But they were far away from the atrocities taking place in Bethlehem. That's all Mary and Joseph wanted. A safe place to call home.
So, every time I listen to commercials, I just love them more and more. But that one's called Refugee. So again, when you're talking religious right, even right, I mean, I hear it, from people all the time. Biden's letting all them damn Mexicans in the country and letting all these people in, and why don't they do something? And I don't want to belittle the, the economic strain of that. I completely get it, and nor am I saying open borders or any of that stuff.
Right.
It's just kind of hypocritical if you're Christian talking shit about refugees, because that's our guy. So he was a refugee.
The OG.
For sure. I mean, there was a census. There was a hit on his head.
Quit it, man. Stop putting facts out there. People don't want to hear this shit.
They split and went into, a foreign land. You just got to really think about this shit before you say it. Mm-hmm. Now, again, if you're F Jesus, I don't give a shit, and get them damn people out of my country, go for it. I mean, that's your crazy view. That's your crazy view. But if you claim to be a Christian, you just, and we've talked about it a lot. You just cannot be, and let me repeat, you cannot be political and be a Christian. You cannot. If your father is teaching, your priest is teaching that, he's wrong. If your parents teaching that, they're wrong. You cannot be, because you are going to cross the wrong line. It's inevitable. So this is probably, these guys put this out, refugee. It's probably the hottest topic right now in politics, is all the different illegals, as they call them. So Jesus was an illegal. That's probably one of the hottest topics. So again, you can't claim that crown and then, this is different. That was the Son of God. This is a Mexican. You can't compare the two. Well, you can. They're both refugees. And again, not saying that And if we remember the story correctly, he was shunned. They wouldn't let him in the inn. There was no space, this, and that. And, you know, again, I'm not saying open borders. I'm not saying any of that stuff. But, you know, as there were people cheering, I mean, it happened here in Chicago. I don't remember. Actually, it was your Florida, if I remember right. Sent a train here.
Your Florida.
Or not a train. Flew people in because we're... you know, whatever state, can't think of the name of it, sanctuary state, and said, all right, well, if you're open, everybody, here you go, pal. Now, again, these are human beings. So put the politics aside for a second. And again, I'm not saying being a sanctuary city is the entirely right way to go either. But you're a Christian. So get the hell out of here. I'm going to fly you somewhere. Hey, I know you want to come here. You're not staying here. And it's wintertime. So you're a dick. And if you think, and we've been really nice this point, sorry, modders, you might want to put on earmuffs. You're an asshole.
Whoops.
If you think that's okay and you claim to be a Christian, you're a heathen. So it's unethical. It's completely, couldn't be least Christian you could possibly be, and you're an asshole. So pick your Bible up again, talk to your priest, whoever, maybe check out some of these beautiful commercials that these guys are putting out, because you really need to rethink through what your faith means, because you're a shitty person. That's a shitty thing to do to people. There's nothing okay with it. And again, I'm not whatsoever putting aside the economic liability to it. I completely understand that.
Yeah, it's a thought process.
For sure. Have some compassion.
Right.
Have some understanding. Let's come up with a better way. You can't just peddle people around because you're trying to make a political statement. You're an asshole.
Yeah.
And if you think it's okay, you're an asshole. So you're not a Christian. Your faith is assholism. There's nothing okay with it. This went south quick.
Founded by Senor Bongholio.
So, our sponsorship, Jesus,
I'm in good.
may not happen.
Yeah, I'm good for like 2 episodes. Getting yelled at about nothing.
I've spent time in South Florida in the Keys, and it's very common on a weekly basis, semi-weekly, that a very mysterious boat will show up with refugees. When you see these vessels, literally, it's like twigs and sticks and barrels and old car engines and like the craziest contraptions you can think of, that these people risk their lives in an open ocean to travel. Most of them are from Cuba, to travel to get to just for a better opportunity. They would rather flee and risk death because the place they're at is so unbearable. And when you see these, and they just kind of leave them. They show up and they leave them, and you can walk and you see these boats. And one, it's a miracle they made it to land. 2, you realize how great we have it, truly.
No, for sure.
And it really makes you think of like, all right, if this person or this group of people were willing to do this just for a better chance at life, they deserve that better chance. Yeah, they do.
And again, it's not too. So I mean, we're all in the business. I've had, I see it all the time. People they were in like the Dreamers program. I've been in this country 20, 23, 24 years. Speak better English than I do. That still aren't citizens. I think a lot of things. And I wasn't there in the 40s, 50s, but 30s, 20s, those big immigration times where my peoples were coming and all of our peoples were coming. I don't think you had the 15, 20-year wait to become a citizen that you do now. It was a completely different setup, and you have to respect that, and it is definitely flawed. So again, I am by no means advocating open borders. I'm by no means saying, hey, everybody needs to come here. It should definitely be right, but we have to acknowledge that it's a mess, and it's all parties. It's not just one party. Everybody screwed this thing up. It is forever. You're sitting in court system, paying money that you don't have, so on and so forth. And again, we're Christians. So we have to treat these people with compassion,
Right.
love, and respect. Because that was Jesus.
Right.
So where are you in that program? And if you're not, how could you claim to be a Christian?
Right.
And again, we talk about this. That's where, when you get into politics, you're going to get dirty quick. Mm-hmm. You just are. Mm-hmm. You're just, it's unavoidable, because you're going to come to a point where your pocketbook, your morality, your safety is going to conflict with your faith. Because I do get it. I completely understand that there are people coming to this country that have bad intention. I completely understand that it's a strain on our economy. I completely understand that there's people coming in here taking advantage of our system. I get all that. But we're Christian. So we're not allowed to say, get the hell out. We're just not allowed to. It's not in our doctrine. Same thing as someone's gay, for that matter.
No, yeah, anything.
So we played 2 videos. One is about being a rebel, open. At that time, and it's funny, so I guess it really hasn't changed, but tax collectors were the most hated people around. Everybody hated them. It's like anybody liked them. Everybody hated them.
Did you say this during tax season?
Yeah, right? That's what I said. I was just like, yeah, I guess that really hasn't changed much.
Right.
And when Jesus was hanging out talking to one, became, part of his crew, they're like, that guy's a tax collector. He's the worst. So that's Jesus hanging out with that guy. And again, I think when we read this, there's a reason for it. So let's say somebody was making up the New Testament. That could have been anybody. Could have been John the Baptist, could have been anybody. Why are they making it the most detested person that you could possibly put in there, and Jesus is communing with them, breaking bread with them? Might be trying to tell you something.
Love thy enemy?
It might be a little messaging in there. So I don't know what else you guys wanted to add to it.
No, I mean, I think if you haven't checked it out, you need to,
Check the commercials out. Talk to your friends about them, that saw the ads. See what they think, Be a good conversation starter around the water cooler or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, they're absolutely fantastic. Thank you for He Gets Us program. I think it's incredible. Yeah. I hope we see more of it. I hope it's during more even important things. Keep sending that message out. We desperately need it.
Yeah, and now that the Super Bowl's over, if you need a place to play it, we're open. So just hit us up.
Yeah, exactly. We'd be more than happy.
Yeah, we'll be happy to
plug it on our
oblige.
YouTube or podcast. But thank you everybody for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share.
Tell your friends.
Tell your dogs.
Tell your mom.
Yep.
We won't swear too much.
Don't try not to.
Yep.
And we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thank you.